Hello and welcome. I'm Hala Alawi, Press's Book Publicity and Events Manager. Thank you so much for joining us for this summit talk. In this talk, we're going to be learning about the value of writing conferences with our guest, Megan Sells. Megan leads Atmosphere Press's national conference program, so they're an expert on how to take maximum advantage of these large-scale book events. At any time, please do use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to send in your questions for Megan. You can also check the Answered tab to see answers to questions that have already been posed. Just for attendees of this talk, we are running an exclusive giveaway. The first people, the first 5 people to sign with Atmosphere will get $500 off their publication package. This can be your first book, it can be your 7th, your 15th, whatever it is. You can definitely take advantage of this offer. As long as you mention Megan's talk in your cover letter or your next email with an acquisitions editor, the first 5 people to sign a publication contract will win this discount. I'm putting a link in that chat so that you can check that out and take advantage. Also, this talk is brought to you by Lone Star Literary Life, your gateway to the vibrant world of Texas literature. Discover the place to immerse yourself in stories by Texas authors, stay up to date with literary news, subscribe to our monthly digital magazine, and explore promotional services for writers and other literary professionals that make every reading and marketing experience unforgettable. Whether you're searching for your next great book, connecting with literary lovers, or exploring Texas storytelling, Lone Star Literary Life is where to begin. Let Lone Star Literary Life inspire your journey one page at a time. As a publisher based in Austin, Texas, Atmosphere Press is proud to collaborate with Lone Star Literary Life. You can learn more about the stories, authors, resources, and events that make Texas literature unforgettable at lonestar-lit.com. And I'm going to put the link to that in the chat as well, just to make sure you've got it typed in right. With that, I am thrilled to introduce our guest speaker. As an acquisitions manager and developmental editor at Atmosphere Press, Megan helps authors navigate hybrid publishing contracts and shape their manuscripts into powerful, polished books ready for publication. They're passionate about storytelling craft and love helping writers deepen their characters and tighten their narratives. They hold an MFA in acting and directing from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And before joining the publishing world, they spent years developing new plays with theater companies like the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and Kansas City Repertory Theater. That background gives them a uniquely embodied, character driven approach to editing. They've edited over 24 books across genres like speculative fiction, YA and middle grade, and memoirs. They're also a featured speaker at Writing Day workshops, the Fiction Lab, and other workshops focused on narrative technique. Megan, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Hala. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. And very serendipitously, I am headed right after we hang out together. I am headed to Atlanta for a writing conference today. So I saw some people that are in Atlanta today. I will be there in just a few hours. Um, so today I'm speaking about how to get the most out of writing conferences. What we've been doing this year as a press is going to as many writing conferences as we can, meeting as many authors and people and editors and other publishers and just all sorts of people. And I have gathered so much data about how to navigate a writing conference. And there's some things that you can do during a writing conference to help you get published faster, to help you have a better book, and to have a wider readership. Um, Conferences are force multipliers. It is absolutely the definition of working smarter instead of harder. Um, I have helped a lot of authors get published over the last 3 years, and authors who attend writing conferences don't have to work as hard at it as authors who try to do it on their own. Even with a hybrid publisher, it's harder to get that readership. It's harder to have a better book. They are just so valuable. And all of it's jam-packed into this one weekend that really amplifies your efforts. Across the board, writers that go to these conferences have better writing, they have easier searches for a publisher, and they have a wider readership. So here's the three pillars of how to kill it at a conference, of how to have a good conference. To focus on better craft, to focus on making better friends, make writer friends. It's the best thing you can do as a writer. And then to have better publishing options for your career. You'll notice I like an alliteration. So craft, community, and career, these are your pillars. And this is what I'm going to focus on today to show you how you can what you can do within these three pillars to really help your book publishing process. So, in the craft, the most cutting edge writing advice is being given at conferences. Sometimes that cutting edge advice comes from me, but a lot of the times it is coming from editors that are working with the newest, coolest books being launched. It's coming from writers who have just gotten published and have a wide readership. It's coming from new thought makers and havers and new thought leadership. This is where you learn how to write for 2025 going into 2026. This is where you learn how to write for the hungriest readers today, the newest, coolest stuff. The most important things that you can do at a writing conference are the live critiques. This is one of the scariest things to do at a conference. It's where you send your writing in and then you're going to get critiqued live. Like editors and folks will be up on stage. There will be an audience and they'll draw a manuscript out of a hat, read it, and critique it right then. Terrifying, so helpful. Genre intel. Writing a widely read book, a well-loved book is about knowing the genre details that you need to have in there. And even if you're in the literary fiction world or the nonfiction world, the academic world, all of these things, there's important markers that your readers want in the book. And so that's the conferences where you learn about that. New writing techniques. Right now, one of the biggest things being spoken about at writing conferences is free indirect style and how much it needs to be used in a third person novel. We're seeing more and more that that is what readers crave. And then it'll help you calibrate the comparable books to your book. That's what comps mean. It's which books are like your book, so I know a little bit of what to expect. This is where you'll learn about new books. You'll meet other published authors, self-published authors, hybrid published authors, and you'll get to read their books. It will be awesome. And then you'll be able to tell people exactly what kind of book you've written. In the community side of things, it's really about building a global network of writer friends or publisher friends or editor friends. Everyone you meet at a writing conference can become one or more of the following things: peers who keep you writing, mentors you can email questions and your despair thoughts of, I'm never writing again and I'm terrible at this. And they'll say, no, you're not. Keep going. Credible blurbs and beta readers, totally worth its weight in gold. Those credible blurbs and good beta readers. I'm sure everyone on this call agrees that having good feedback from people who know what they're talking about in the writing stage, so valuable. You find tons of people who want to trade, who want to do that together at a conference. And then last but certainly not least important, more people to buy your book. Everyone that you meet there has a book that they want you to buy, which, hooray, more books. And then they're all going to want to buy yours as well. Making sure that you are focusing on the people, that is the best way. That is the best way. And then the career side of things. Find an editor, find a publisher, find a marketing team. Um, on this side of things, I really think it's important to define success in terms of steps taken, not necessarily like deals signed. Um, Publishing is a marathon and not a sprint. It is, if there was something longer than a marathon, that's what publishing really is. I'm sure there is. I'm sure someone on this call is like, it's publishing is whatever that person thought. FaceTime with editors and presses, so valuable. I know, but no one knows better about the publishing industry than people who work in the publishing industry. So this gives you a chance to talk to them just casually, chit chat in the hallways. You could strike up a coffee conversation with your dream publisher, which might be me. But it could be your favorite author. It could be somebody you never thought you'd meet in a million years. And everybody wants a bagel. Reality checks on timelines and budgets. Publishing is also, there's no easy path to it. And so conferences really help you build a budget, know how long it's going to take, kind of give you that framework and that plan, that roadmap to publishing. Um, the paths beyond the query only routes, this is one of the coolest things about writing conferences. I keep saying that, but they're just so great. Um, Paths beyond the query only route. This really helps you meet other hybrid publishers, other self-publishing places to get to meet self-publishing authors and hear the horror stories or hear what they wish that they had learned, all of that good stuff. And then the reality about book marketing. You get a really good understanding of what needs to happen marketing wise from a conference. So not only this is just look at all these things you didn't have to Google. Look at all these things you didn't have to read an article about. Someone will just tell you. Someone will educate you because it's all happening here at a conference. Here's what you should do before you go to the conference to make sure you get out of it all of these beautiful things that I'm talking about. Clarify one goal per pillar. Go in knowing what you're looking for. Otherwise, you won't see it. Try to build a one sheet for your book, even if you're still writing it. Try to build a one sheet for your book and a 20-second intro because everyone is going to ask you, what are you writing? And then you, the deer in the headlights, will go, it's a book with words and yeah, so have a 20-second intro so people know who they're talking to and what you care about. Um, Make sure to go to the sessions that are related to the gaps in your understanding. Don't just go to the sessions that are things you already know how to do. Those are fun for sure, but try to learn things, try to challenge yourself, and then do the scary thing, do the hard thing. The part of the conference that's scaring you, try to do that part because that's where you're going to experience that really strong growth edge. For most people, that's those live critiques. It's so scary because sometimes the critiques are harsh. It's still worth it. Here's some of the things to do on site to get the most out of a conference. Front row or aisle seat. Have them see your face. If you can't see them, they can't see you. It's like the driving behind a semi truck thing. Make sure to ask one relevant question per session. Don't ask a question about something they didn't speak about. One relevant question per session. More if it calls for it, but make sure to ask at least one. Um, Track the names and the next action of what you're going to do for that in your notes somewhere. I use my notes app, but if you've got a paper or something, write name and what you're doing with that name next to it. Fold down the corner of the business cards of the people you actually want to follow up with. Otherwise, they'll just get lost in the shuffle because you're going to get a bunch of business cards. And then visit every single table once, at least once. Even if it's a little nerve-wracking to talk to a stranger, learn what they have to say. Come see what they're doing. If you come to our table, we're going to give you cool things like notepads and candy, and you can meet Paolo the skeleton, and there's all kinds of cool stuff that happens. But other people have lots of great information to give at these conferences, and that's why they're there. They want to talk to you. So go to everybody at least once, and then visit the best ones twice to get all of your real questions answered. Okay, so this is really the hardest part of getting the most out of a conference is the follow-up. Follow up ASAP or it dies on the vine. I I can speak to this so intimately. I have been to so many conferences with people where we had an amazing conversation and then they didn't follow up with me and I like later couldn't remember what their name was. And so we're both missing out in that situation. We're both missing out on that. So make sure to write their name down, write their email down, and follow up like that weekend. Um, Panelists, if you're following up with a peer, try to share a resource with them. If you're following up with a panelist, like if you were to send me an email after this because you wanted to broach the subject of having me be your mentor or something. I'm not ready for anything like that, for the record. But if you were going to do something like that, recap the convo that I gave you, reference something that they said in the panel, and then propose a quick coffee chat. So just a quick call or something where you can chat and catch up. And then if you're following up with an editor or a publisher, find their website, follow their submission instructions, and then in how you've submitted, then reference the conference. Um, Here's the common pitfalls at a conference. Spray and pray pitching. We don't care who's listening. Here's my pitch. Listen to it. Try to ask questions. Like if you have a science fiction novel and you're talking to an editor, ask what they edit first. Because maybe they edit academic books only, and you guys just really aren't a match already. Don't spend 30 minutes pitching your book to this editor because they're not the right fit. Um, another pitfall is no goals, no notes, no follow-up. And then the last pitfall that I see the most is overcommitting to sessions and under networking in the halls. Going to session after session after session after session is really what some people need, but for the most part, that networking, that meeting other people, talking to strangers, making writer friends is as valuable as the sessions. So, with that said, that's my opinion. That's my thoughts on how to get the most out of writing conferences. The writers that I see that do this, they're in the lead. So now I want to open it up for questions.
Thank you so much for those insights, Megan. And like you said, at this time, we do have time for our audience Q&A. So for anyone who has a question for Megan, go ahead and open that Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We're going to go ahead and get to as many questions as we possibly can. So this first question, Megan, if every writer goes to a conference seeking connections and opportunities, how can one stand out without feeling too performative or like they're losing authenticity?
It's a good question, and there's a lot of different answers to that depending on what that authenticity means to you. Um, for a writing conference, I think what's most important is to be true to who you are. Don't go in with this idea of performing. Don't go in with this idea of quantity over quality. Um, when you get there, you're gonna meet somebody. It's impossible not to. So just start there. Start with each individual person that you meet and let it snowball. Some other ways that you can stand out are following every single instruction that you are given and like reading every email that you get before the conference, being well informed, knowing what's going on, and not having a million questions that the people have already answered will make you stand out because they'll be like, ooh, that person is amazing to work with. One of the last things that you can do is like wear something eye-catching and silly if that's in your personality. Um, the last conference that I was at, somebody dressed up as Wonder Woman the whole second day. We're talking gold corset, big boots. She had a lasso. It was very, very, very eye-catching. She had just written a superhero novel. It worked. It worked really well. That wouldn't have worked for me, but she stood out.
Absolutely. I can imagine that really brings a lot of light to everyone's day at that conference. This next question, I see this coming in from several people, so I'm really curious to hear from you. What are some best practices for choosing which conference or conferences to attend?
Yeah, great question. Look at who's speaking. And are you genuinely interested in what those people have to say? You're going to have a better time if you're actually curious about those sessions versus I have to go to a conference so I can sell my book, but you don't give a care about anything that's going on in that conference. That's not the best conference for you because your boredom is going to leak through and they're going to see that. So Author Nation in Las Vegas coming up in just like 10 days or something. James Patterson is speaking, which I can imagine many people on this call are like, woohoo, James Patterson? That's a great way to decide where to go. Um, Google the ones that are close to you. The ones that are close to you are always going to have some of the best community for you because these are people, mostly going to be people that live near you too. And lastly, like what stage of the writing process are you in? Are you pre-publishing? Are you post-publishing? All of my advice was about pre-publishing. And so look for conferences that are focused on pre-publishing. And some conferences are more focused on like book selling. Book selling, if you're pre-publishing, not your vibe. Um, Lastly, budget. There's writing conferences at every single budget. AWP in March, it'll be in Baltimore this year, is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars and so expensive and huge and amazing and so valuable. But I just went to Killer Nashville in Nashville, Tennessee. The registration for that was only like 150 and it was absolutely amazing. There were so many editors there. It was really great. So, yeah, look for what you care about. Go somewhere close to you. Keep your budget in mind. Um, and don't do it just as like a task.
Totally. That'll help with the energy levels for sure. So, kind of a similar question. What if the festivals or conferences in my area aren't very big? Are they still worth attending?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely they are. There's a really small conference in Lawrenceville, Georgia that is one day and so small, but the authors that networked there have um just recently, like I know this because I have an in-law who went and they built a little writer community. So, like, even if it's like 20 people, 20 writer friends, are you kidding? That would be that's a wealth of writer friends. But a mix is good. You don't just want to go to the small ones, go to the big ones too.
Totally. And kind of another, again, I keep saying this, they're all very related questions, but in that vein, what are the top three conferences, if you had to pick, that you would recommend attending? Or if it's easier, think about it as what are your favorite conferences to attend?
Yeah. Whoa, that is a really tough question to answer because they are so different. Um, They are so different. I think AWP, although huge, is extremely valuable, especially if you're interested in like a writing program, a like an academic program, getting your MFA or something like that. There's so many fun parties that happen at that one, and so many people come from all over the globe for that conference. It's just truly impressive. But I've also been to a ton of really amazing conferences in Chicago, and I'm also really excited about this Atlanta's Writer Conference coming up later today. Actually, it's Friday and Saturday, but I would say like the Writing Day workshops, those are all over the country. Those are pretty great. AWP. Um, I really loved Killer Nashville this year. That was truly a lot of fun. It's really, oh, this is really hard. They have all been so great.
I think that's really encouraging to hear is that wherever you are and wherever you are in your writing journey, there are going to be really great festivals to go to that don't have to be on the top 10 list or something like that. So that opens up a
Absolutely.
lot of
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question for you. If I don't have any social media or author website or online presence, how do you recommend networking with publishing professionals? Or how do you recommend keeping in touch with people you meet at a writing conference?
Yep, great question. I myself don't have social media. I have a static editor page on Instagram. So if you Google me, you'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, well, they're a person. But it's totally possible to network without social media. Um, Email, huge. Email is still king, in my opinion. It is still the gold standard for business communication, and this is business. Get an email newsletter going. Um, Follow up. You have to be proactive about the following up because the algorithm won't do it for you. So you have to reach out, you have to follow up, get in direct contact with people, build a direct contact network. Um, have a business card when you're there with your contact information on it, your book's information on it. Pass it out so people can find you. So you don't have social media, so where can they find you? Do you have a Substack? It's technically social media, but it's really great for writers. Um, Do you have an email? Do you have a website? Are you published? Are you not published? Do you have an agent? Do you not have an agent? Like what kind of stuff? How can we find you and hand that information out? And then I know one author who sends out a Christmas card every single Christmas to every writing professional he's ever met, like every publisher, every editor, every agent, everybody, and sends out a cute little just like, here's what I've been doing in my writing career this year. Hope you have a happy holiday. Here you go. He has no social media and is very well published, mostly from that Christmas card trick.
Totally. So yeah, again, utilizing these tricks and having a great experience with following up and connecting with people that way. Kind of another question that I want to pose to you. What are your thoughts on attending conferences or panels that are outside of your genre or your comfort zone? Say, for example, screenwriting, but I've also seen in the chat graphic novels, poetry, et cetera, et cetera. Are there
Yeah.
benefits to attending conferences that are outside of your genre?
Yes. Yes. Um, you will obviously get the most benefit about something in your genre, but learning how to write poetry is good for every single writer. Learning how to present a clear, concise argument or information in a way that is still exciting to read, like if a nonfiction conference, so helpful. You will learn things that are helpful. Um, you will learn things that will make you stand out in your genre because you didn't just go to all the genre conferences. You'll meet people who may be valuable to you because they are, again, they're like special, they're outliers. Maybe this person, maybe you'll meet an editor who mostly works on um, nonfiction for like work, but loves fantasy and would like to try fantasy. And so, like, you guys can, maybe you just found a free editor, but it wasn't at your genre. It's also really helpful for stretching your boundaries. Maybe you'll discover a new passion. Maybe you've never written a graphic novel, but the reason you're curious about it is because when you do, it's going to be amazing. So yeah, give it a shot. If you're interested in it, that's probably enough reason to go.
Think it really comes back to this idea of, getting connection and community and networking out of it. And so, just like Megan said, there are a lot of ways to do that, even if it's not a conference for your genre. A few people are asking, are there resources or websites where I can find these writing conferences? I do want to mention actually, Lone Star Literary Life does have a resource for Texas based festivals, but are there other resources you recommend, Megan?
The AWP website also has other resources, and then how I built my schedule is Google. I Googled writing conferences and then just started scrolling. Um, I also think one of the best ways to find writing conferences is to ask your current network. Where have they gone? Where have they felt it to be successful? So if you ask me, I would tell you places like Chuckanut, Round Top, that one's in Texas. We went to the Golden Crown Literary Society. It was in Albany, New York this year. The writing day workshops, like I said, or Let's Just Write in Chicago, another great one. So ask people, and then I use Google.
Yes, definitely an underrated research resource. There are, things that you want to maybe avoid that you see on Google, but really, I mean, if you just go in there and you're looking up book festivals, I'm in Michigan, so book festivals, Michigan, it's going to pull up a ton of resources. And then you can get more granular fantasy festivals, sci-fi,
Mhm.
poetry. So definitely get in your search engine, see what you can find. Next question for Megan. Can the true value of a writing conference be measured immediately, or is it hidden in subtle creative shifts that only appear years later, at least in your experience?
Yes, and yes. Any kind of artistic growth, or really any growth, is not linear. So you will see immediate benefits in, hey, I have a new friend. You will see immediate benefits in, I learned something that I can take into my writing practice this week. I knew something new to try. But as with any new thing, you won't really see that fruit until you've done it for a while. Like I said, writing is whatever is the longer thing than a marathon. So you will see results more and more as you keep at it, as you keep coming back to learning and educating yourself and trying new things. But the act of trying the new thing in and of itself is beneficial.
Totally. I think that's really, where it comes back to that, what are you getting out of it? And that can be different also for different festivals. I think that's something that can be helpful for writers to consider.
Yeah.
Another question, how can a writer distinguish between genuine mentorship and maybe something that's a bit more performative at a conference?
Mm. So there there isn't real I haven't really noticed any kind of performative mentorship at conferences. There are some paid mentorship type things that anytime someone is asking you to pay something, research them, grain of salt, look for customer reviews, that those standard things. But pretty generally, if somebody is performing to you, they won't stick it out in the long haul. They won't keep emailing you. So they kind of weed themselves out. Um, and when it comes to this, how to pick a mentor question, it's a good one. And the my answer is go with your gut. Trust your gut. If they're giving you advice that just doesn't sit well with your gut, maybe ask yourself why. Like, do I need to grow here? But a mentor should make sense from both directions, the mentorship. If there are lots of programs out there that are designed to pair a mentor with a mentee, like Manuscript Makers, Hayla is working on this right now. And so I think that those kinds of scenarios are the best places to really find a new mentor, is because people have gone to that organization saying, I want to mentor people. And then the organization is like matchmaking. I think you'll find the most, if you're just like, I need a mentor and I'm going to shop for one, you'll find the most success there. Other than that, mentors can be kind of a random serendipitous universe kind of thing when they bring that into your life. And that's where really trust your gut. If that new friend is going to be a mentor, it will make itself obvious.
Absolutely. Going back to a point that you had mentioned during your presentation, what are some quick tips you have for a successful follow-up with someone you meet at a conference? Especially if you can think of anything that stuck out to you when someone followed up with you, I think that would be really insightful.
Yeah. My first piece of advice is keep it concise. Don't be wordy. Don't write a novel in your email. Introduce yourself again. Hi, my name is. We met at, and then once you go back, when you go back to look at the slides, um, in this here, actually I can go back. Um, Here, this is what I think is really the most helpful, um, is share a resource, recap that convo, and propose, like, initiate the chat yourself. And for editors and publishers, like, follow their instructions. So other than this, my advice is keep it concise. Don't be wordy. Have a clear call to action in your email. So have a clear next step for them to follow. So if it's sign up for my Substack to your peer, or let's get together and chat for a panelist, or please review my submission for an editor or publisher. Be clear in your call to action.
Totally. I mean, really, it comes back to that conciseness, right? Not only does it help you meet as many people as possible, but that also helps you stick in the memory of people that you have met, especially when you uh, do that follow up with them. I'm looking through the questions here. I want to make sure we can get to as many as possible. Do your recommendations for conference attendance depend on whether an author would like to get traditionally published or pursue a different type of publication model, or is it kind of across the board advice?
So there are definitely conferences that are more traditionally publishing focused, and some that are self-publishing focused, and some that are general everybody can come kind of publishing focused. I think those general everybody can come publishing focused ones are the most valuable to everyone across the board, regardless of how you want to get published, because they're the most, here's all of the information that you could possibly want as a writer. Now you make your choice about the path. The traditionally published conferences are very gate kept. It's very much going to be the scenario of you better be the best, otherwise it's a cattle call. If that's what you want, like get your Gatorade, get your Red Bull, go for it, do the thing. But then I think you can get traditional publishing advice and attention from those general ones, and they're a lot more welcoming and like chill. um, for self-publishing, if you want to self-publish, do not go to that traditional publishing conference. You're gonna have a bad time. Um, I think the genre-based the like craft focused genre based conferences are the most fun. Those are people who are like, yes, they care about publishing, but really it's just a bunch of people who like to write. So if you are going to the conference and you don't really have publishing in mind yet, those gear trend towards those. But yeah, if you want to get published, honestly, the general ones. And then for the self-publishing conferences, those are really helpful if you have a book that is self-published and you are trying to amplify it. Um, or you've got one book that's self-published, you're working on your second book. Those are very like business minded for self-publishing authors.
Perfect. And we just have time for one more question, Megan. I saw this come up a few times in the Q&A. Can you talk a little bit about online conferences and the benefit there, which is, I know, a little bit meta, seeing as we're in one right now, but yeah, your thoughts.
Honestly, yes, go to the online conferences. My absolute favorite conference that I've been to this year, other than this one, is the World Shift Conference. It was just a month and a half ago, and it was entirely online, entirely free, absolutely the best writing advice I've seen at a conference all year. Those online conferences, you can get some of the best advice because space is in a constriction. So they can get anybody to speak at those, like people that they wouldn't normally be able to like afford to fly out and host and like do they like I've heard Amy Poehler speak. I've heard all kinds of like incredibly famous people speaking at these online conferences, and I got to sit with my cat in my lap. Um, the thing about an online conference is go live. You're not going to watch that recording. Let's be honest, you're not going to watch that recording. I'm not going to watch that recording, and I really care about this. Like, not that you guys, we all really care about this, but like, we're not going to do that. So go live. Make your like treat it like a real conference, like a in-person conference.
Totally. I think that's a huge pitfall that I find myself falling into is I think I'll watch the recording, but I always have a better experience when I attend live.
Yeah.
So, but at this time, that is all the questions we have time for in this talk. So, Megan Sells, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and advice with us. Thanks also to everybody in the audience for being here and sending in so many thoughtful questions. The next talk will be about breaking writer's block and building a daily writing practice with author and speaker Carolyn Flynn. To rejoin the Zoom webinar for Carolyn's talk, just click the same link you clicked to join the Zoom for this talk. While you're in the digital waiting room, you can enjoy excerpts from the audiobook The Writer in Tuscany by Richard P. Wenzel. Thank you again to this talk's sponsor, Lone Star Literary Life. You can learn more about the stories of Texas authors, stay up to date with the latest literary news, and find resources that make every reading experience unforgettable on their website. I just dropped the link in the chat one more time. Remember that the first 5 people to sign with Atmosphere Press will get $5 off their publication package. Just make sure when you submit your manuscript, you mention the summit or Megan's talk in your cover letter, and we'll make sure those first 5 people get that discount. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you in the next talk.